Imagine for a moment that what you feel every time you're short of breath isn't just a physical symptom, but a silent reminder that you've forgotten something essential. You've spent your whole life breathing, yet you've never stopped to think whether you're doing it well. And yet, in that action you take for granted could lie the key to accessing forces and knowledge that most people don't even suspect exist. What you're going to hear today isn't a tale. It isn't an exercise to relax you. It's the opening of a portal that has been in front of you since the day you were born. In the hidden peaks of the Himalayas, where the cold cuts the skin and the silence weighs more than the rocks, there hid the so-called guardians of the breath. They weren't saints or magicians, but men and women who understood a secret forgotten by the rest of the world. Breathing is not a mere survival mechanism, but the rope that ties your physical body to the deepest dimensions of your consciousness. They called it prana, the energy that animates everything that exists. They didn't learn this by reading books. They discovered it by observing, by listening to what the earth and the sky told them, and by practicing day after day until they became capable of feats you would call impossible today, slowing their heart until it seemed to stop, enduring lethal temperatures without any harm, halting the advance of time in their own bodies. For them, it wasn't magic. It was sacred science. They say that inside each one of us there are 72,000 invisible channels, nadis, through which that vital energy circulates. But modern life, with its stress, its fears, and its lack of attention, blocks them like rivers full of sediment. Those blockages disconnect you from yourself, slowly dimming your light. The masters knew the solution: pranayama, the discipline of the breath. Specific techniques to free the flow, awaken kundalini, the serpent of fire that sleeps at the base of your spine, and that, upon awakening, can open within you capacities that today would seem like science fiction. This isn't just about breathing more deeply. It's about slowing down without forcing, letting the body enter a rhythm so unhurried that the mind grows still, that the noise of life dissolves until it reveals what has always been there: your connection with everything. The ancient sutras spoke of powers that sound like myth today: making yourself as light as air, expanding your presence beyond the visible, understanding the languages of the earth and of animals. But what was truly valuable wasn't those abilities, but the state that made them possible. Samadhi, when the separation between you and the universe disappears, when you stop feeling like an isolated individual and recognize yourself as part of the whole. That state isn't exclusive to a chosen few. With the right practice, anyone can approach it. And for that, you need to understand the keys that open it. Nasal breathing, which protects and purifies each inhalation. Diaphragmatic breathing, which reactivates the natural way you breathed when you were a child. Aligned posture, which turns your spine into a clean channel so that energy can rise without resistance. You may think this is just well-being, but it's much more. When you learn to breathe like this, your mind stops living trapped in patterns of stress. Negative thoughts lose strength, your rest improves, your body begins to repair itself. It's as if every cell remembered what it was created for. For 40 days, 20 minutes each morning, this training can transform not only your physical state, but also the way you perceive reality. Not because an external miracle occurs, but because you learn to move the energy within you consciously. And when that happens, what you project outward changes, and the world responds. Now, listen carefully. If you think all this is just a game of breathing exercises, you're mistaken. What you're going to open is a channel toward dimensions of your own mind that you've never explored. Some feel a calm so deep it seems time stops. Others experience a clarity that allows them to make decisions they've been putting off for years. Others simply discover a peace they didn't know they could feel. This path isn't comfortable. It will force you to sit face to face with yourself, to stop running from what you carry inside. But in that confrontation, you'll discover that there's nothing more powerful than control over your own breath. Because to control your breathing is to control your energy. And to control your energy is to take back your life. If you're willing to cross that threshold, stay. Today, I'm going to guide you step by step, not only so that you breathe better, but so that you awaken what has always been asleep in the deepest part of you. Get ready, because once you enter, you won't want to go back. There's something we haven't touched yet, and it's essential to understand why conscious breathing can be the invisible thread that unites the physical with the spiritual, the conscious creation of your reality. Many people think life happens randomly, that events are like loose pieces of a chaotic puzzle. However, those who have worked deeply with the breath know that air doesn't just oxygenate the body, it also shapes the inner space where your thoughts, emotions, and perceptions germinate. And what sprouts there, sooner or later, is projected outward. Imagine that each inhalation is a sowing. What you plant in that moment, an intention, a mental image, an emotional state, filters through your nervous system, engraves itself in your biology, and ends up influencing the decisions you make, how you respond to what happens to you, and what you draw toward yourself. The ancient yogis understood it as a natural law. Energy follows attention. And if your attention is scattered, your energy will be as well. Conscious breathing not only centers you, it also trains you to direct that energy with surgical precision toward what truly matters to you. Now then, there's another point that is rarely mentioned and is crucial: inner silence. I'm not talking about just any silence, but about that fertile void that appears when the mind stops pushing and pulling in all directions. Reaching it requires not only slowing your breathing, but turning it into a natural metronome that marks a steady, gentle, almost hypnotic rhythm. In that constant pulse, your parasympathetic nervous system takes control and something astonishing happens. Your body enters a mode of deep regeneration. Blood pressure drops, stress hormones dissolve, and most importantly, a space opens in your perception to catch signals you normally ignore. That state is the perfect ground for something deeper, reconnecting with the spark that ancient texts described as your original nature. This isn't poetry. It's a level of consciousness in which you stop living trapped in automatic reaction and begin to respond with full presence. From there, problems that once looked like insurmountable walls become paths with an exit. Not because the world suddenly changes, but because you're looking at it from another place. And this brings us to something fascinating: breathing as a bridge between worlds. The outer world you see, with its noise, its conflicts, and its demands, and the inner world where everything originates. Crossing that bridge every day, even for a few minutes, trains your mind to move smoothly between both shores. Thus, the spiritual stops being an abstract concept and becomes a tangible experience, lived in your own body. But there's one last aspect I want to reveal here: community. For centuries, these practices were transmitted from master to disciple in small, hermetic circles. Today, however, we live in a unique moment in which this knowledge can be shared freely. Practicing in solitude has its power, but when you join others who are walking the same path, something more happens. Breaths synchronize, intentions align, and the collective energetic field is amplified. It's as if 100 lit candles together produce not only more light, but a warmth capable of transforming the entire atmosphere. That group strength can sustain you on days when discipline falters, inspire you when routine threatens to extinguish the magic, and remind you that you are not alone in exploring this territory. Because in reality, awakening is not a solitary journey. It is a shared awakening. If you get that far, you'll understand that conscious breathing is much more than an exercise or an ancestral technique. It is a master key. A key that opens not one, but several doors. To your physical health, to your mental balance, to your spiritual connection, and to your creative power. And once you begin to turn that key each day, you'll discover that the doors were never closed. You had simply forgotten where to look. And now, before we close this journey, I want to leave you with an image that may never fade from your mind. Imagine that at this very instant you are inhaling the same air that centuries ago passed through the lungs of a master meditating in a cave in the Himalayas. And that this breath, charged with intention and knowledge, has traveled through time to find you today. This isn't a romantic metaphor. Air is an eternal witness, an invisible messenger that unites generations, cultures, and consciousnesses. Every time you breathe, something of that universal memory enters you, and what you do with it depends only on you. I want you to understand something. This moment is no accident. Among everything you could be doing, you've chosen to stay here, listening to words that aren't trying to distract you, but to remind you who you are. That choice sets you apart, and if you've reached this point, it means something inside you has already shifted, even if you can't yet name it. I invite you not to let this impulse fade. Practice. Explore. Dare to cross that bridge between what you see and what you feel. And when you do, you'll discover that each breath is a silent pact with your own evolution. So let's seal this pact right here. Subscribe to the channel so we can keep exploring together. And leave me the phrase, "I breathe the infinite," in the comments. Don't write it just to write it. Type it as a declaration that you're willing to go beyond what you believed possible. Because this isn't the end of the video. It's the first step of a journey that is only just beginning. And now, close your eyes for a moment. Feel the air entering. And as you exhale, imagine that everything you don't need dissolves like smoke under the light of dawn. When you open them again, remember, you aren't in the same place you were when we started. And if you doubt, just breathe again. See you at the next leap.